All right, 24 minutes after 6 o'clock. Good to have you with us here on SA Tonight. Gauteng Traffic Police are appealing to motorists to drive extra carefully as the weekend approaches. Of course, traffic volumes expected to increase as parts of Gauteng starts coming back from the coastal regions. My apologies to KZN and Cape Town. We were there, we are leaving, we promise, but we're asking everyone to drive as carefully as possible. In fact, Arrive Alive says over 100 fatalities have been recorded in just the festive season alone. So how is Gauteng Traffic Police going to handle this? Always good to have Sello Maremane joining us this evening, spokesperson for Gauteng Traffic Police. Sello, hello to you. So a lot of people expected to come back over the past few days. We're hearing numbers of 3,000, 2,000 people coming through the toll gates. So just how prepared are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Gareth, to you and to the viewers as well. Yes, our roads still continue to experience high traffic volumes. And I think I need to also mention the fact that today it is raining heavily. So in some parts of our province, we are experiencing some flooding. For example, on the R55, just towards Olivenhout-Bosch, there is some overflooding there. The same when one goes to Pretoria North towards the site of Rachel de Beer. We are experiencing, some overflooding, and it is raining. And therefore, we would like to make this appeal to our motorists to really be vigilant and take care out there. They need to maintain safe following distance as well as drive their vehicle within the prescribed speed limit. We would want to avoid a situation where, because our roads are so wet, we don't want vehicles to be skidding. So that's why we are making this call to say to them that they need to maintain safe following distance. Normally, it is safe for one to see at least 3 vehicles ahead of themselves.
And we often heard about those who are involved in advanced driving to talk about not 3 seconds. You want to be able to count at least 3 white traffic lines on the road. 3 seconds at 120 kilometers is not enough. Sello, I suppose the Gauteng Traffic Police are watching the weather coming out of KZN and I suppose more accurately the Free State coming into the province as well. There's some heavy rain. We had it here in Gauteng today. Some heavy rain going into the weekend as well. Are we expecting any more Gauteng Traffic Police on the side of the highways, at the toll gates, or are we just leaving this to the drivers to try and be as responsible as possible?
No, one thing I can assure our viewers at home is that we are out in large numbers. All law enforcement authorities, Gauteng Traffic Police, as well as National Traffic Police, together with our local authorities being our Metro Police, we are out in large numbers on our major roads as well as the artillery roads. In other words, all the roads that lead into our provinces, we are trying to cover those routes. But we need to caution our motorists that as much as it is raining like now, there are those areas where we see some, overflooding. They must not underestimate and think that maybe when they see some water, they try to negotiate their vehicle in those waters. That's where we will find some disasters. But our officers, we are out there in large numbers throughout 24 hours to ensure that they arrive alive, Gareth.
Talk about Arrive Alive as well. Sello, take me back into December. I know we're only a few days, Sello, into January as well. How effective have your traffic officers been in pulling over and arresting those who've been speeding and driving under the influence? How effective has that been?
We have been very much effective in arresting the people who are not abiding by our rules of the road. Just to give you a picture, over 100 people have been arrested for overspeeding on our freeways. We also have some arrests in as far as those that are driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor are concerned. So in general, we have arrested a lot of people since the beginning of the 1st of December who were not able to, to accede to our demand of complying. And we keep on, our message is very clear. Just comply, exercise patience, is for their own safety. Unfortunately, we have some pockets of people who keep on disregarding rules of the road. As I've mentioned, the past 2 days, on the N4, we have arrested a motorist doing 233 km per hour on a 120 km per hour zone. Now, that person is behind bars. Now, these are the type of behavior that we keep on saying we cannot afford to have our people over speeding on our public road, because they are not only endangering their lives, they are also endangering the lives of other road users. You can imagine a person driving at that speed while it is raining. Anything is possible. The vehicle could skid, or he can just lose control of the vehicle. So that is why we are asking them to maintain a safe following distance, to drive their vehicle within the prescribed speed limit, especially given the condition that we are in now. It is raining in most parts of our Gauteng province.
So when we talk about someone that is doing 233 kilometers an hour, Sello, it's a difficult speed to try and imagine how someone even decides they can drive that speed. Why the car can go that fast in the first place is beyond me. What happens in a case like that? I'm kind of going for a scare tactic here. What is the absolute worst that Gauteng Traffic Police can do to someone who's been speeding like that? I imagine they will never drive a car again.
Well, what we do, Gareth, we arrest these people. We do not issue citation. We don't stop this vehicle and try to issue a fine to such a person. Remember, they face charges of reckless and negligent driving with an alternative charge of exceeding the prescribed speed limit. So in other words, we had expected this driver to be driving 120 kilometers per hour maximum, and then they have exceeded that speed in such a way that they were endangering the lives of other road users. So what we do, we immediately put them behind bars, and then the court will then decide. Then maybe upon conviction, a court will then decide whether they send this person to direct imprisonment without a fine. But the law is very clear in terms of Section 89 of National Road Traffic Act to say a person who has been convicted in a court of law for reckless and negligent driving may be convicted to direct imprisonment up to 7 years without the option of a fine. Hence, we are appealing to our people. The ball is in their court. The rules are there to be followed. But we will not, let them lawlessness ruin in our country. If we happen to find a person like this, we do not have any alternative except to arrest such people. And that's why we keep them behind bars.
I want to clarify something, Sello, perhaps just as a last question to you, because I'm not sure why there's so much confusion around the alcohol limit and driving in South Africa, and especially around Gauteng. Well, I suppose everywhere. Let me take it back around South Africa. What is the legal alcohol limit in the country? I want to just get this on record in case there's someone watching who thinks, well, maybe I can have a glass of wine or a beer, a Castle Light, whatever it might be. What is the actual legal limit?
Well, the actual legal limit is 0.24 milligram per 1,000 liters. You are not allowed to exceed that in terms of breath. That's the legal limit. In case one is driving a public transport vehicle, such as a taxi or a truck, it's even lesser than that. So, but I am yet to see a person who's consuming alcohol, having with them an alcohol tester just to check whether they are within the limit or not. Yeah. So I am happy, I'm so delighted, in fact, to announce that, negotiations are at advanced stages to take away the legal limit. It's not working for us because our people, they just drink and drive without checking whether they are within the limit. So we would be one of the most happiest law enforcement agencies if this legal limit may be taken away. But the legal limit is 0.24 milligram per 1,000 liters. They are not allowed to exceed that.
So, I mean, I'm not in any way trying to give ideas away as to what that might be before you get behind the wheel. But my understanding is, Sello, that's essentially a dumpy. It's a dumpy beer. But essentially what you're saying is it should be zero all round as well. I'm going to leave this as my last question, Sello. I know it's a busy evening for you. At what point, if we keep saying year after year, Easter after Easter, Christmas after Christmas, that it's the speeding on our highways that is the problem, when do we reduce the speed limits on our highways from 120 to 100? Would you like to see a speed limit of 100?
Definitely sure, Gareth, because remember, in terms of our laws currently, our maximum prescribed limit on our freeway is 120 kilometers per hour on a freeway when you are driving normal vehicles. But if it is a truck or a bus of which the gross vehicle mass exceeds 3,500, it's 80 kilometers per hour. Our wish as a law enforcement agency is that, as Parliament promulgate laws through our National Department of Transport, we would want to see that speed being reduced, because reality is that they don't even drive 120 kilometers per hour. They continue to exceed that speed limit. But we have seen, horrible fatal crashes where a person has been killed and the person maybe was even driving 60 kilometers per hour. We really have got a gray area in terms of overspeeding in as far as our drivers are concerned. If I share with you the stats of the people that we are arresting for reckless and negligent driving, just for overspeeding, you'll get a shock of your life. So it would be one of the most happiest law enforcement agency if Parliament would really relook into our prescribed speed limit. We know, for example, that in an urban area is 60 kilometers per hour and outside in an urban area is 100 kilometers per hour. But we continue to see our people exceeding those speed limits, almost with double. A person doing 180 kilometers per hour on a 60 kilometers per hour zone. And this is just not on, because we are losing lives unnecessarily.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more as well, because if it's 120, people are doing 140, 160. If you bring that down to 100, at least we could possibly get it to 120. But there is still some debate around that. But please drive safely if you're coming back into Gauteng.